Hello and welcome to another edition of Florida Sportsman Action Spotter Podcast. I'm Captain Rick Riles. This is where we take a quick trip around the state each and every week to find out what's going on with the fishing. My goodness, we had another big weather change this week. Just when things seemed to be settling down, the wind started blowing again. But the good news is the charter business is starting to show signs of waking up. Things are starting to get back to normal. Gosh, I hope the fish are ready to go, because I promise you the fishermen are ready to go. This and Every Action Spotter is brought to you each and every week by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. By Tournament Master Chum, the best chum on earth. By Nosara Paradise Fishing, where your dream vacation awaits. And by Young Boats. You want the finest in flat spay and offshore hybrid boats? You want to visit youngboats.com. We're going to start tonight's trip around the state with a little trip to Paradise. We're going to Paradise Rentals. That's Nosara Paradise Rentals in Nosara, Costa Rica. That's where Craig Sutton brings us the report each and every week from what's going on down there. Man, they've been hit. They just found out they're not going to get to open till a little bit later. They're not quite up to speed like the United States is, and I know that it's killing Craig's captains not being able to get out. Craig, what is going on in Nosara? I know you guys are battling the same thing the rest of the world is.
Yes, we are, Ricky. We've got no known cases in our area. I only got, I think, 317 cases or something like that. But it's shut completely down, just like America. You know, we got boat captains and first mate laying block and, pouring slabs. God bless them.
Just think how glad they'll be to get offshore, huh?
Oh, my gosh, I can't wait.
Yeah, I know the feeling. I can't wait.
Yeah, I'm bummed that we have to wait till the 15th of June. Hopefully they'll start kind of opening the country up before then, and then on the 15th of June they open the airports up, international flights. So. Good.
Is that a pretty hard date? They feel pretty confident about that?
Gosh, I don't know, Ricky. I mean, really, they were telling me the 15th of May they were going to make a call. And it was looking like June 1st, but last week on Thursday they said no, it'll be June 15th. So I'm hoping, but I'm bracing myself for another extension.
Nope. Ain't gonna have it. It's all gonna work out for you. I can't wait for it. I promise you. I tell you what, you're getting into summertime. I got to make my plans to get down there, and I know an awful lot of Americans. And how much of your business is from Florida?
About 24-25%.
Is that your number one state?
Yes. Yeah. Texas is the next one, around 20%. Yep. And in the Northeast, the New York, New Jersey area holds about another 15-20%. We get miscellaneous. We get a lot of California and Colorado.
You know when fishermen go to Costa Rica?
Yeah, I don't know. When they have flight?
Nope, when they want to catch something. That's true. That's true. If you're sick of dragging all day and not catching anything, you need to call Craig Sutton. Okay, he can fix that.
You get one of these small East Coast sailfish. They just don't do anything.
Just stop it. You just leave my sailfish alone. Just stop it right now.
Okay, all right, I will.
That's the end of this conversation. I'm not going to listen to any more. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, brother. Sounds
Thanks,
good, man.
Craig. Bye-bye. Craig Sutton putting a slam on my Atlantic sailfish. I love our sailfish. We got great fish. To heck with him. I don't care if his sailfish weigh 150 pounds. We're going to bring it back from Costa Rica and start around Florida up in the northeast corner where our man David Voorhees is waiting. How we doing, David?
I'm doing fine, Rick. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing outstanding. Boy, I tell you what, I hope the inshore fishing's gotten better because the offshore sure has.
Well, it's been outstanding this week. It was a phenomenal week. Plenty of redfish, some nice trout. We're finally seeing some good trout. But I have to tell you, the last couple of days, we've had a little water temperature change, and it's not going up. It went down. So we actually had some water temperature sort of early yesterday came in, and we saw temperatures get down to 68 degrees. So it made fishing yesterday a little tougher, but we worked hard. Now, already today, the water temperature is back up in 71, 72 degrees. So, today the bite was so much better than yesterday. It was unbelievable. Now, a lot of the pelagics have showed up inshore, plenty of ladyfish, plenty of jacks, plenty of bluefish and stuff like that. But what we are really starting to see is a good amount of trout now, and some decent-sized trout. And what I say by decent, 16, 17 inches. If you work that higher end of the tide and you catch that, you find the birds feeding on the ribbon fish, more than likely you're going to find some good trout mixed in there with that bunch of fish. Now, as far as the redfish goes, I'm still working deep water, Rick. I told you on the radio show that we caught our first shallow water fish this week, and the boat traffic the last couple of days, even Sunday, Sunday being Mother's Day, it was really nothing compared to what it has been. And even today, the boat traffic on the intercoastal was way down. And matter of fact, when I got out this morning, I was pretty much the only guy out there, and it was fantastic. I haven't seen that in quite some time. So, people are slowly starting to go back to work, and I think the waterways are going to start, the traffic on the waterway, I should say, is going to start slowing down. But there were plenty of good redfish today, some trout. Now, Rick, I haven't seen a flounder. I ain't seen a flounder in weeks, so I don't know what's going on in that department. But, I did get to talk to some freshwater guys. I don't care how old you are or what kind of fishing you do, but let me tell you what is fun to do this time of year, and that is go hit the shell crackers and brim when they're bedding. It sounds like this is the time. This is when you want to get out there and you want to find the brim bed. As a kid, I used to do it with just an old fly rod and some popping bugs and stuff like that, and absolutely loved it. It's something, you can take kids to enjoy to do. Get you some crickets, get you some worms, go out there with a float and hit the brim beds. They're bedding right now, and from what I understand, it's been pretty good. On the St. Johns River.
That's a full moon kind of thing, and I think when we start to see this moon build back up, they usually do it in June too, David. I think we'll see plenty more of them then.
Yeah, absolutely. But Rick, I have to ask you, man, what do you think this cold water is doing to the cobia?
I don't know. I don't know if it's cold water or if it's the number of boats, but for whatever reason, it's a substandard season, and each time this water temperature has dropped, those fish have fallen back down to Daytona or even toward the Cape and come back up again. But, boy, I tell you that the long-time pros that I talk to, the Roger Walkers, the Eddie Smiths, the Clay Phillips, the guys that have done it for 30, 40 years are just as frustrated as they can be. There's so many boats and there's so little etiquette. There's and according to today's crowd, there's nothing wrong with cutting in front of a boat that's already working on a ray. It's just been real difficult, David. Now, there have been some pop up offshore. There have been some on the wrecks, and I think that'll remain constant. I don't think that's gonna change much through May and June. We'll continue to have cobia hanging over the wrecks if you're fortunate enough to be the first boat on the wreck that day. Out in the blue water, things have gotten much better, David. The mahi showed up very, very strong just before this blow, and the big boats, the big endless summer boats and the big Jody Lynn too, that have been able to hang in there through this weather have done very, very well. We're talking about some 30-fish days, a lot of gaffers, quite a few sailfish, plenty of blackfin tuna still. It has been real good for the last week.
Well, I hope this cold water doesn't stay with us too much. It looks like it's going to warm up the rest of the week, and I'm looking forward to getting out and even start looking to do some night fishing here real soon. So we're still in our springtime conditions. I think the big trout are still around. There's plenty of redfish to be had. And if you want to take a kid out fishing, I had kids today. They got their redfish. They took what they wanted to take home and eat. And we had a couple of redfish, nice-sized redfish, enough to feed 4 people. And I looked at them. I said, hey, y'all want to just go have some fun? And they said, yeah. And I took them out, Rick, and we caught jacks and ladyfish and all the play. And there were plenty of ladyfish right at the mouth of the intercoastal waterway just south of the St. Johns River.
Perfect.
Plenty of ladyfish.
Perfect. I sure need to come get me some. I'll tell you what, I don't have any, and it's my favorite redfish bait ever. David, as always, and we always appreciate it, tonight you've given us a great report, and I think this cold water is going to be very short-lived. You're going to be back rolling again steady right on through the week. Real quick before you go, is your business come back? Are you getting a lot of charters again?
It's picked up, yes, and I'm getting calls. I've got calls all this week. I booked 2 yesterday for like July, which was a good sign. People are looking into the future. I really like that. Business is coming back. It's coming back slow. I've already did as many charters this month as I did all charters last month.
See, how about that?
So,
there you go. We're bouncing back. David, I appreciate your report. As always, give us your phone number for people who want to go fishing with David Voorhees and learn a lot about our local area in Northeast Florida.
Absolutely, Rick. It's 904-708-8915, Backwater Fishing Adventures.
You got it. Thank you, Cap.
Thank you, Ricky. We'll talk to you next week.
Let's get to Action Central. We're going to head down 95 a little bit and pull over in the East Central region, where I'll bet you Captain Jim Ross is having better fishing than he was on last week's full moon. Jimmy, how are you?
I'm doing great, Rick. And you know what? You're exactly right. That full moon really kind of wrecked our bite around here. I don't know if it did for everybody else around the state, but I can tell you that it was difficult here if you were fishing in the daytime hours. But I'll tell you, this week has gotten a lot better. I didn't have very many charters this week, but one that does stand out was on Wednesday. I had a fellow named Billy Butcher, who I used to tournament fish with many years ago, back in the redfish days. And Billy wanted to get out and throw his fly rod around. So we went and explored a little bit, some areas that I hadn't tried in quite some time. And these areas in the Indian River have flats that are adjacent to spoil islands or drop-offs. And that deeper water scenario seemed to really change our game. We had been chasing fish around up in the shallows, and we had been looking really, really deep for them, last week with that full moon. And this week, we've tried to concentrate on that 2 to 4 foot depth. And that depth is really where the majority of our trout and redfish want to be, at least this past week. And then later in the day, we actually got really, really shallow, less than 8 inches of water. I was using my little tunnel hole boat and poling it along. And it was difficult at times because we were in slightly dirtier water, but it was difficult at times to pick out the difference between the redfish and the catfish because they were about the same size. These fish were very, very small, very, first year class redfish for us.
Huh.
And I was impressed with the numbers that we were able to see, because that tells me that this lagoon is getting healthier. This fishery is starting to thrive again, because for a couple of years, we didn't see those little less than, 15-inch redfish, at least not very often. And we saw a considerable number of them, probably somewhere in the low 40 range. And what we found was that a small black fly or a tan fly, the Borsky slider is one of the ones that we used. And then Billy actually tied another fly that was kind of like what's called a redfish candy, but it's a little bit smaller and the tail is much shorter. And that particular one was working, and it was in black, and that one was working very well on those little teeny redfish, those little rat reds. But definitely different scenario than what we saw last week. Saw some really good fish that did not strike. I found a pot of snook that I don't know if I've ever seen a pot of snook that big in our lagoon system before. I've seen them like that at the inlets. I've seen them like that on the wrecks, when you're marking them on your sounder. But I've never seen a pot. I saw 18 or 20 snook that were holding around one of our spoil islands, around a deadfall, just a single deadfall on the edge of the spoil island. And the reason that they were there was, I think, the same reason the trout were. It gave them a little bit deeper water due to that high pressure that we've been dealing with. And it kept them close enough to the shallows they could stay away from the dolphin, but far enough away from the shallows that the pressure, sunlight, and potentially the osprey weren't bothering them.
Right. Right. We don't ever talk about that, and I don't mean to drag this out, but fish have really got to find a balance. I've so often studied finger mullet, and finger mullet swim far enough away from the bank that the wading birds can't get them, but not so far that the flounder can get them. and
yeah.
If you look up at them from the bottom, they're silver. They match with the sky. If you look down from the top, they match with the muddy bottom. I mean, they've got a balancing act the whole time. They need to stay just out of the range of that great blue heron and just out of the range of that flounder at the same time. It's not easy being a finger mullet, Jimmy.
No, that's not something that you want to be reincarnated as. That's for sure. You did something wrong if you come back as a finger mullet.
That's exactly right. You weren't a good person. Jim, real quickly, have you heard anything from offshore?
Very little. We did have a little bit of a gag grouper bite. It moved into the 21 and 27 fathom ridge because the cones / steeples on our Ocarina bank in 240, 250 feet of water had a huge amount of current on it. The guys that were trying to deep drop also were dealing with a huge amount of current. So they really were not on the couple of days they got out, they really were not very successful. And then the weather came in on Saturday, and it's just really been kind of tough for the guys. Nobody's really been out since then, so It's been a little tough.
Next week looks better, Jimmy. It's going to be good, I promise you. We're going to talk with you a week from today, if that's okay.
I am looking forward to it, very much so.
Thanks so much, Jim. Jim Ross from our East Central region. We always appreciate checking in with him. Now we're going to take off to one of my favorite places down to Stuart, Florida, and check in with John Earhart. I hear the sailfish have been biting a little bit down there. Let's find out. Captain John, are you with us?
Yes, sir. Glad to be here.
We're mighty glad to have you, son. Any fish down there? I already brought my boat down. Now there better be fish there.
Yeah, there's plenty of fish around. Let's start with the offshore. Obviously, we all know it's grouper season, so when we can get offshore, my main focus is going to be grouper, amberjack, and some mahi that are passing through right now. It doesn't look like we're going to be having any kind of comfortable seas for the next week, but when the seas lay down, I would definitely be focusing on the deeper water for the bigger groupers. Right now, we're catching a lot of gag groupers, a few scamps, a lot of red groupers, and an occasional black grouper. Most of that fishing is going to be 70 to about 190 foot of water, and it's going to be based on the current conditions for that day. Using a fish finder rig with a heavy lead, and typically I like to use a blue runner, a grunt, yellowtail snapper, any bigger bait that's going to stay down on the bottom, and it's just going to have a better presentation on the bottom. So when that big old grouper comes out of a hole, he's going to know he's going to get a good meal for the work he's going to have to do. And then the rest is just up to you. You got to pull him up off the bottom, and you got to get him past the sharks. The sharks have been pretty bad on the reef this week. So if you're going out there and you're targeting groupers, definitely beef up your tackle, because not only do you got to get him out of the bottom, you got to get him past the sharks too, and then you can put him in your cooler if he's legal size.
Yeah, boy, it seems like that gets harder every day, is getting them by the sharks. Hey, let me ask you a question. We've got roughly the same species of grouper up here in Northeast Florida that you do down in Stuart. What's your favorite one to eat?
Hands down, the scamp grouper is my favorite, but, top two would be a scamp and a black grouper. I'm not a big fan of the gag grouper and the red grouper, but I certainly wouldn't turn them down either.
I like gags okay. I like the smaller gags, but I'm with you. I'll take a scamp or a snowy every time.
Yeah, those are definitely going to be the two best. If you give me a scamp, I'm going to be a happy customer.
Me too. All right, tell me real quick about the inshore.
The inshore fishing's been pretty consistent this week. We've got a lot of bait fish inshore. So, snook fishing's just been absolutely phenomenal. It's been easy to get bait. It's been easy to catch snook. And there's been a lot of keeper-sized fish around. So all in all, it's been really good fishing. There's a lot of jacks mixed in. We've been catching a few bigger Cubera snappers in the river, believe it or not, while I'm snook fishing.
How about that?
And again, just fishing around structure and stuff. And it's been pretty action-packed on my 4-hour trips this week.
That's fantastic. Ain't nothing better than easy fishing. I think we're all a big fan of that, especially with everything we've had to deal with lately. Well, John, that sounds fantastic. I'm going to be down there Monday. Be chasing sailfish, I hope, so I look forward to talking to you then.
All right, I'll call you on the radio.
I look forward to it. Thank you, Cap.
See you, Rick.
Captain John Earhart from the Chaos and the Mayhem, where he said the snook fishing has been easy in Stuart this week. That's a good way to put it. All right, let's head on down a little bit further south and hit the population center of Florida, Miami. And I know they've had a mess since this whole thing started. And say hello to Captain Alan Sherman. Alan, how are you?
Rick, I'm doing fine. Nice weather, healthy. We've got some fishing going on here. Let me touch base on the inshore real quick.
Okay.
There's been a pretty good inshore sea trout bite in the last couple of weeks. and the fish have been anywhere from 15 inches to over 20 inches, and you're allowed one over 20 inches per boat. But they're over the grass flats. You can find an area that has a little bit of live grass, work it with some trout pouts or some gulp shrimp with hookup lures, 1/4 ounce, 3/8 ounce, and just keep bouncing them off the bottom. That's been working pretty good. You caught me here when I was cutting the grass, and I'm out of breath. So let me just sit down for a second, see if I can't catch it while I'm talking to you. Anyway, these fish have been hungry. You hit a school, and it's easy to get a 4-fish limit in no time. There's been some snappers and some gag groupers in the same areas. Some of them are over the grass. Some of them are over some rocky areas. And then the freshwater fishing has been outstanding. Our water levels are really low, and there's been a ton of largemouth bass and all kinds of panfish if that's something you're interested in. Going out to the offshore side has been excellent. Now, they're not slaying the fish, but they've had some outstanding catches in the last week or so. Bouncer Smith had a giant red snapper. We don't get a lot of them in this area, but he had one that was probably around 15 pounds. And then one of the charter boats, they had a yellowfin tuna, about a 50-pounder.
Good deal.
And then there's been a few blue marlin caught this week as well offshore. They're not seeing a lot of dolphin. There's a few dolphin around, and the kingfishing slowed up, but the sail fishing is still red hot. So the guys fishing offshore with live baits under kites, live ballyhoo, goggle eyes, pilchards, threadfin herring, they've been doing pretty good on the big fish. And those fish are feeding anywhere from just along the reef, the outer reef, in 80 feet of water out to about 300 feet of water. Yesterday, with the rain that we had that moved in, it was not a lot of wind, but it was a steady drizzle the whole day. Well, the blackfin tunas went off, and the guys fishing for them, they just loaded up. They were chumming with live pilchards, and then fishing pilchards or threadfin herring, goggle eyes under kites. And they had some pretty big blackfins, 15, 20-pounders, and quite a few of them. So that fishery's been pretty good. The guys fishing on the bottom over the wrecks, any kind of rock piles and the ledges outside of 80 feet of water are doing really good on black grouper still and some big mutton snappers. So we've got some good fishing going on. It's just a matter of being able to get to them.
Alan, how soon, it looks weather-wise like next week's going to be better than this week. How soon do you see your charter business improving?
All right, so the guys that have the bigger boats where they can get some separation between the people, the party boats,
right,
the charter boats, they're fishing, and they're not having a problem. They're not getting the tourists yet because the hotels haven't opened up. Restaurants are just starting to open. So it's mostly locals and then, the transients that are still here for the winter that haven't left yet. So those people, they've been dying to fish, and they're fishing. I'm one of those guys in a 22-foot boat where it's hard for me to separate myself from my people.
Sure.
And I'm in that age group. So, and there's a lot of us that are in that age group where we got to be careful. Nobody over 50 years old wants to get this virus. So I'm playing it safe. I'm going to be more patient than some of the other guys are. And when I feel like it's okay to get out there and put some people on my boat, I'm going to be right there with everybody else. I'm dying to earn. We're going into our 7th week without a paycheck.
Alan, I got to tell you,
nobody wants to be there.
This is the first time in my life it has slapped me in the face that I am a senior. I mean, I know,
Yeah.
And when they started saying people over 60 need to stay inside and all this, I'm like, yeah, those poor guys. And I went, uh-oh. They're talking to me.
I know.
I don't like that.
You can't play with this. This is life or death for some people.
I know.
I hope that I'm not that person, but I think everybody in this world right now has somebody that they know or are close to that's been touched by this virus. So, you got to be smart when you go out there. If you have a boat on a trailer and you're trying to fish on the weekends, the lines are literally a mile to get into a boat ramp. And not everybody's getting there. They're being turned away once the parking lot fills up.
A lot of people wanting to fish.
And like I said, I'm playing it safe.
I don't blame you a
But
bit,
I'll keep
Alan.
the fishing reports coming.
There ain't nothing wrong with that. We'll talk next week. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
All right,
Take
buddy.
care.
Fishing's pretty good in Miami. The charter business just hasn't returned. Now let's go on down to Islamorada and speak with the man himself, Captain Nick Stancic. Nick, how are you?
Oh, we're hanging in there. How you doing, Rick?
Doing great, buddy. Any fishing going on in Islamorada?
Yeah, there's been a few boats fishing. I've been taking our locals and residents out and homeowners and whatnot. But I fished a couple of days myself. Went to the family for fun. Caught a keeper black grouper. Finally, which was the first one of the season. We didn't get any opening day, but a few days back we caught a keeper, so we were happy with that. And then I did run one swordfish trip. We did not have any bites. We caught a few dolphin and a couple tilefish. So we caught dinner. Chase fished on my old boat. On the other 37 Freeman, we got to rid of it. He caught a swordfish that day. Not a big one, but a keeper. And they had about 15 dolphin as well. So there's some dolphins showing up out deep, and hopefully it just keeps getting better and better.
Good. Nick, let me ask you a question. You catch down in Islamorada more variety of grouper, I think, than anywhere in Florida. What's your favorite on the table?
I love the yellow lens grouper. I'd like to have like a small, medium one, maybe 10 pounds or so. I like to catch the big ones for the pictures, but I'd rather eat a 10-pounder than a 30-pounder myself.
Yeah, I'm the same way with just about every grouper, Nick. I know good and well I like the gags around 10, 12 pounds, just like you say. We get a few red grouper up here. I'm not a huge red grouper fan, and I don't know anybody that doesn't like scamps and snowies.
Scamps are popular. I haven't caught a scamp here in years, but there's a few being caught. I remember as a kid, they were everyone's favorite, no doubt about it, one of them.
Yep. Any word on when the keys will be reopening and you guys will be back running every day?
We're not sure yet. We're hoping June, but that's just a guess, so we're just waiting to see what happens.
Whew. Man, I hope it's soon, Nick. I sure appreciate you staying with us every week while you're fishing with your family and getting these great reports, and we'll talk with you next week if that's okay.
Yeah, give me a call. Hopefully I get a better fishing report for you.
You got it. Thanks, Nick. Nick Stancic from Bud & Mary's in Islamorada. If you have never been there, you need to be there. Let's swing around to 10,000 Islands and see how things are looking for Captain Steve Dahl. Steve, are you with us?
I am. All 10,000 islands are open for business, too.
Do you own all 10,000 of those islands?
I don't. I don't have any property in the within the 10,000 islands.
Oh, I thought you.
I know. I know. Yeah, I know a few of them, but I don't have any. I don't have a deed to any of them. So.
Nobody gave you a key. Tell me about your fishing.
Nobody gave it. We've been staying kind of inshore lately. This past week, we've only kind of been nearshore fishing once or twice, and that yielded some good results on the days we could kind of get out there with the winds. But permit are still rolling on the nearshore waters, so that's kind of what the target we've been going after. And there's definitely some cobia in the mix, which is good because they'll readily eat a crab as you're fishing for permit. We've been kind of splitting our time doing some nearshore stuff and then jumping inside. Tide's been fantastic around that full moon this past week, and had some really, really good water flow and real good incoming tides. The rain kind of subsided a little bit, so it's been really good. And the snook fishing is pretty much on the marquee for all of the 10,000 islands right now. It's prime time right now. Water temperatures are up, and they're chewing. You can catch them pretty much any which way you want. I mean, that's the way I'm kind of going at it. The live bait guys, you're certainly going to catch some more fish, that's for sure, and probably some bigger fish. But water clarity isn't an issue. So if you like to sight fish for them, they're starting to show up on the beaches. Even on some of the bigger shoals that are on the outside islands, you can kind of see those fish kind of wait up as the sun comes up. But even prior to that, they'll readily take a topwater fish. They seem to kind of favor a little bit bigger profile right now. Even some of the smaller fish, it seems to. I think the bigger profile seems to get their attention a little bit, and we're kind of using some walk the dog baits. Nothing in particular. I wish I had a tried and true, brand or model for you, but it seems like anything that gives that type of walk the dog cadence is doing well, but it's got to be a bigger bait. Rattles don't seem to matter. They can be silent. Your typical colors are all, chromes, bones, even a straight black one, probably my favorite one to throw. Just a little bit bigger silhouette. I think it's easier for them to find it. Big bait, big fish type of concept. Right? So it's been good. Snook fishing's been great.
Yep, outstanding. Well, that's keeping you going now. Is your charter business coming back at all?
Yeah, we have. My heart goes out to, everybody that's not, but I'm so blessed. We've really had a really good response from our customer base, and they're definitely keeping us busy, and, we're running all styles of trips right now and getting a little creative too. We're doing probably a little bit more of the family fun style trip as opposed to the little bit more technical trip that, some of the more skilled guys are used to. But that's okay. I mean, it's a lot of fun getting the families out, watching kids catch fish. Their attention span, as we know, is a little limited, but that's our job to be. Sometimes them playing in the bait tank is, more fun than sometimes they're catching fish. But that's our responsibility to be able to pass it on for the next generation. So I welcome that.
My daughter would name all the pogies in the live well.
Yeah.
Daddy, you want George? Daddy, you want George? George wants to come. No, honey, I'll take Fred. Okay, I'll bring you Fred. Hold on. Come here, Fred. But you're right. That's what, if that's what turns them on, that's what you're going to do for that day. Oh, have you heard anything from offshore? Is it too windy there, too?
Yeah, it's been a little too windy.
Yeah,
it really has.
All right, Steve, I tell you, it sounds like just about everything in the 10,000 Islands, like most of Florida, has been inshore for the last week because we've had quite a bit of wind. But looking into the future, I like the looks of next week a lot better. We'll see. But as always, we appreciate your great report, and we'll talk to you next week.
Sounds good, Rick. Have a great week.
Thanks, Steve. Now let's come around to Southwest Florida and check in with Captain Greg Stamper from Snook Stamp Charters. How we doing, Cap?
We're doing great, Rick. How are you doing?
Outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. I am ready to come to Southwest Florida and do some fishing. What are you catching?
Yeah, you know what? This would have been your week. A couple of sailfish were caught in our neck of the woods this week.
How about that? That's fantastic.
The guys who went out there offshore, they had a couple of really nice, calm days that they were able to run out there and get further out than normal. Most of these guys only go, anywhere from 80 feet to 100 feet, which is anywhere from 30 to 40 miles. But a few guys got out a little bit deeper and just absolutely wrecked some fish. I've seen this week, I continue to say there every time, it's just incredible how big our mangrove snappers are. We're seeing fish that are upwards of 7, 8 pounds on a regular basis, yellowtails that are probably 4 pounds. And these guys that were out there deep, one of them got a sailfish, and quite a few players this week came back with some really nice blackfin.
Oh, good. I tell you what, it's so funny you mentioned that. If I had to pick 2 fish in Florida, certainly in offshore, that have been exceptional this year, that are having booming years, it would be mangrove snapper and blackfin tuna.
Yeah, no, I have to agree with that. I mean, the guys that I talk to that go out there on a regular basis, when they can, I mean, obviously they're running a long way, but when it's good, they go. They've been wrecking those yellowtails, wrecking those mangrove snappers, and they caught quite a few mutton snappers this week as well. So, I mean, they're getting out there, but when they get out there, it's definitely well worth their time.
Yep. If we didn't have to deal with the weather in April and May, boy, that'd be our favorite time to fish. There's no doubt. But the weather should consistently start tracking better every day now. What's going on inshore in Southwest Florida?
So inshore, we got a little bit of the tarpon bite still going on. It's not been like crazy amazing this week. It's just been okay. Like I talked about last week, the snook and the tarpon were definitely getting ready to go into their spawn. We did just start seeing fish showing back up in some of the regular places today and yesterday. So these fish, they've been out there having their fun. Now they're hungry because they've been working out for about a week. Hopefully this next week coming up, even though we do have some slow tides in the morning, we're going to start being able to chase these fish around. What I'm really excited for, Rick, to be honest with you, is I do a lot of juvenile tarpon this time of year in the back bays. And this is the time of year right about now when they start showing up full speed. And we'll be doing that way, way early in the morning. I'll be out there before the light even starts coming up. So I'm already where they are when I need to be there.
Now, when you talk about juvenile tarpon, if you're on a trip in the morning, let's say it's a 4-hour trip, how many juvenile tarpon jumping is a good day?
So it depends. To be honest, the way I look at it is when I get in there, I can almost immediately tell you if they're eating or not. On days when they're eating, you can get 6 or 7 in the air. probably land 3 or 4 of them easily after you learn how to do it the first time.
Mhm.
And then if you get there and they're really not active and it's just singles kind of rolling here and there, you might be looking to get 1 or 2 in that 2 or 3 hour period. We have a very slight window down here when it comes to these juveniles in the areas that I fish them. You basically have from the exact moment of first light till that sun gets up about 30 degrees above where it started. And if you don't have overcast, at that point, they're pretty much done unless you head to the river.
Huh. Now, do they continue to roll all day and they just don't bite, or they don't even roll once the sun comes up?
No, once the sun comes up, we're fishing in water that's very kinetic most of the time. And I truly believe that these tarpon are so used to that dark water, that sun kind of like makes them squint, you know? They're like, oh, it's kind of bright. And after that sun comes up, they just stop rolling. That's not to say that every once in a while you won't see a rolling fish. If I'm not seeing multiple fish, multiple numbers, rolling kind of in tandem, doing their coming up, grabbing their air, going back down and feeding, that's going to probably be a tough day. If I do see them doing that, it's going to be on. We're going to catch them, Rick.
Greg, there's 2 fish that I want to talk about real quick. We both know that with blackfin tuna, we do better at first light and last light or on an overcast day, right?
Yep.
We both know that we do better with tarpon on first light and last light or an overcast day, right?
That's correct.
Here's what they have in common. They got great big eyes that are very high on the side of their heads. You know, you think about a mahi, he's got a little bitty eye over on the side of his head. We catch him all day long. But I think you're absolutely right. I think those big fish, swordfish come to mind, that have big eyes on the top of their heads. I think the sun bothers them a lot more than it does other fish.
Well, I'm going to start making sunglasses for them, and I think that might help my productivity during the middle of the day. But until that comes to fruition, I guess I'll just have to wake up at 4 in the morning and be at my boat at 5 and get my people out there at 6 o'clock and be done by 10.
I want to be your partner. We're going to develop tarpon sunglasses that'll make them bite all day long. I love it. Thank you, Greg.
All right, tight lines, Rick. I'll talk to you next week.
I'll talk to you later, Cap. We appreciate it. Our thanks to Captain Greg Stamper, who is busily developing tarpon sunglasses so the sun won't bother them and they'll bite all day long. Best business idea I've heard of in a long time. Let's come on up I-75 a little bit and talk with our buddy Ray Markham from the West Central region. Ray, how are you?
I'm great. How you doing there, Ricky?
I'm doing fine. I don't know any better. I think I'm having fun. I mean, I don't know.
Well, you know, today's first day they opened up. I guess it's haircut season now down in this neck of the woods, and I figured I'd go get some of it out of my eyes. And I don't know if I felt like I was waiting in line at the boat ramp to put in. You know, it was a madhouse. But anyway, I can see a little better now.
You know, I called my haircut guy today, and they never answered the phone. I think they looked down and saw it was me and said, hell, you ain't got enough to worry about. We ain't going to worry about you. Your $3 haircut can wait till next week.
Such is life.
Yep, ain't that the truth.
Man.
What's going on with the fishing?
Oh, my gosh. Well, the snook fishing has been blowing up everywhere. Everybody I talk to is inshore fishing. They have absolutely been whacking the snook. And you know, they're closed still here in the West Central area, a good portion of it. So people hopefully are releasing the fish and taking good care of them when they do, because that's the future of this fishery. We were hurt with red tide a couple of years ago and towards the beginning of last year. And that's the whole reason this whole thing is closed, snook trout and redfish. So seems like they're all doing pretty well, making pretty good rebound. Still seeing lots of good big redfish being caught. So hopefully come this August, September, October time frame, we'll see a pretty good abundance of those fish heading out to spawn. The guys that are fishing the mouth of Tampa Bay, they're just telling me they're cleaning up on Spanish mackerel. So mackerel season, it is it. We got the big spring run that's going on, not only with Spanish, but also king mackerel. It seems like king mackerel bite's been probably best in nearshore waters recently when the wind is not blowing. Those fish are coming in and they're hitting on some of the bait schools that are forming along some of the artificial reefs. anywhere up to about 7 to 10 miles offshore. The guys that are fishing from the ditch south seem to be doing about the best. By the ditch, I'm talking about Egmont Ship Channel out off of, I guess you might call it Manatee County if you're heading due west. A lot of good fishing going on. Red grouper fishing between 100 and 150 feet of water, from what I'm hearing, has been about the best range for them, and they're getting a lot of red grouper. And I guess everybody's boning up for amberjacks, and they're catching a bunch of those. Anybody wants to go out and do that achy breaky back thing and get out and do that and stretch some lines, because seems like there's a whole lot of stuff to fish for out there right now. Talked to a couple of guys and said the cobia run is just insane.
Really?
Yes. It's been going off pretty much for the last 2 weeks. Didn't really get it in last week's report that much. I don't know what made me not say anything. Maybe I figured I'd go out and try and catch them myself first.
No.
I ended up doing maintenance. So
no secrets, Markham. No. You got to tell it all, brother.
There's not a lot of secrets going on anywhere. I mean, you talk to people who think they've got the secret spot. They show up and there's already 10 boats there.
Right. You know, things are so different from when guys like you and I started, and that's one of the biggest differences. There aren't, you take a Seymour map now and you put it in my machine, and what it'll show you is every spot that I've found or come across in the last 30 years. Well, the guy that buys that Seymour map, all of a sudden, instantly, he's as good a bottom fisherman as I am. I know it's a good thing, and I know it gets more people into fishing, and I know we just need to be responsible about it, but doggone it does. I'll be honest with you, it does irritate me when I think, okay, I want to go get some of those big 8-pound triggers at here's the inshore trigger hole here. Okay, nobody's got that one, and I'll go blow it over there, and there'll be 2 boats sitting there.
Well, I'll tell you what, technology is an amazing thing, because I never used to use any kind of a GPS or anything else when I was growing up. And it was always like, you're running X number of miles or whatever for at X number of RPM for a certain length of time and that kind of thing. And then you throw out the old soapstone and see what the bottom looked like, and that kind of thing. And then along came Loran C, and I used Loran for a long time, and all of a sudden my machine would crap out, and I'd lose everything, so I'd have to start all over again because I never did write anything down. And it's like, it's too much life work. Half the time I'm out fishing now, I shut the sonar off because I know I'm only like in a foot of water or two. And so if I can't tell that I'm like 50 feet from the big rock off the shore, I need to do something different.
Yeah, I think you're right. Well, Ray, it sounds like your fishing's been good. Is the charter business coming back to West Central Florida?
Slow but sure.
Okay.
There's still a whole lot of people getting out on the water right now, and quite honestly, I think there've been quite a few people who are either out of work or still working on limited time back on the job, because a lot of these guys that were full-time workers are only brought back on part-time. So maybe the money's a little bit tight, but not so tight that they can't run their own boats out. So actually getting a parking place at the boat ramp is, with your boat trailer is probably the biggest thing going on. So I can say that, nobody's forgetting about fishing, because I know the fishing business is starting to pick up with all the tackle shops and whatnot. People are getting a little bit of a late start on getting their kingfish tackle together, because this thing hit just before all that started coming on. But right now we're like right in the heat of this thing with the big kingfish run, and the guys are just trying to play catch up, and the poor guys that are sitting in the tackle shops who might have been closed or only open at certain hours or something like that. Now they got double and triple duty trying to catch up with all the maintenance that people are finally deciding they're going to need on their rods and reels and tackle and stuff. So it's a good thing. I think it's going to rebound, and I think when we do get things open a little bit more here, you're going to see something that's nothing short of phenomenal. with the catch up on the fishing game. So
I'm all for it. Incidentally, every boat ramp in Florida is experiencing the same thing, so don't feel like you're the Lone Ranger. Parking spots are at a premium. Cap, we appreciate it as always. Let's hope we can talk to you next week.
Yeah, buddy. The good Lord willing, the fish don't and the fish don't ride. They're all going to ride, but the tide better not.
You got it. Thank you, Ray.
All right, bud.
Take
Catch
care.
you later.
Captain Ray Markham from the West Central area of Florida. Ray's report and all of our reports each and every week are brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. By Nosara Paradise Rentals, your dream vacation awaits. By Tournament Master Chum, the best chum on earth. And by Young Boats. You want the best in flat, spay, and offshore hybrid boats? You need to check out youngboats.com.
You know what Yamaha Outboards love? The genuine formula and consistency of Yamalu marine engine oils. Outboards are subjected to punishing conditions like high loads, salt, and humidity, a mix that automotive oils can't handle. Yamalu full synthetic and marine performance formulas are certified to protect against friction and corrosion for reliable performance every time. Find Yamalu marine oils at your nearest Yamaha Outboard dealer. Locate them at yamahaoutboards.com/dealers. Yamaha, reliability starts here.
Hey, Raj, being consistent is a mark of a quality product. If you've been Florida's #1 chum for over 10 years, there's got to be a reason.
For 10 years, Tournament Master Chum has lived up to its name. That's why more tournament pros insist on Tournament Master than any other chum. It's the only chum with menhaden milk mixed right in. That means it gets the scent out faster and deeper than any other brand of chum. It comes in a grind size for every species from kingfish to catching bait. Your fishing time is way too precious to you second-rate chum. Bring the action to you by insisting on Tournament Master Chum. It's worth every penny.
When you're ready for the finest in custom-made flat spay or inshore-offshore hybrids, you are ready to meet the Young family in Inglis, Florida. For over 21 years, the Young family has built custom boats one at a time for every type of fishing. Nothing can sneak up on a flat quite like the Gulf Shore flats boats, and I've never fished a better hybrid than the Young 24s and 27s. Rob Young is a naval architect who takes tremendous pride in each and every build for each and every customer that wants their boat custom built exactly the way they want it. Is it time for you to move up? Are you ready to own the finest boat built? Then you need to visit the Young Boat facility in Inglis, Florida, or check them out online at youngboats.com. Our thanks to Ray Markham for a great West Central report. I was surprised to hear him say that cobia fishing is so good. I haven't heard that in a lot of areas of the state. He says he's got them all corralled over there. We'll see. Did any of them get away and make their way to Homosassa, Captain William Tony?
There has been a few, but what has been the big factor in our cobia fishery right now is we've had some late season fronts. In fact, if we can keep this temperature here all throughout the summer, I say we put a gate up at Tallahassee and not let anybody in. That's what's keeping most of the anglers from getting out there in that deeper water where our cobia, are migrating north.
William, I hate to tell you a story, but I'm in favor of that gate whether the weather fronts come or not. Okay, we got enough people. We don't need any more. Y'all go home. Okay, just go home.
Yeah.
Hey, I understand your charter business has been good. Have you got any kids booked on your boat for the next week or so?
I do have some, I believe, later on in the week. Anytime I get young folks on board, I always make sure to give them extra attention to let them know that fishing is going to be part of your life forever.
That's right. Hey, I got a joke for them. Are you ready?
Okay, let's go.
What is the difference in Dubai and Abu Dhabi?
Oh, dang, I never heard this one.
Okay.
I don't know. They're both in the desert.
Nope. The Dubaians don't care about the Flintstones, but the Abu Dhabi do.
Yes, I like it. I got to remember that.
I'm 67 years old, and I'm still laughing at that joke. I don't know what's wrong with me.
Mine's real quick. It's pretty easy, though. You'll probably know this one. What is the pirate's favorite place for breakfast?
Ooh, the pirate's favorite place for breakfast. The doubloon. I don't know. What is it? Sunken chest.
Hardee's.
Oh. I win this round, William. Mine was better. I'm sorry.
You did. I mean, yeah, mine, but
no.
I got to remember, though, that's good entertainment. But we've had a little bit of breeze out here today, and the redfish bite's been great. now that snook's over, not a lot of folks target them, but plenty of catcher release all on your western-facing points and outside keys. Trout bite's been very good. It's moved out to a little bit deeper water. So with the northwest winds we've been having, it's a little bit choppy out there. And I was going to tell you about just a technique that I use with a marking buoy.
Okay, I'm ready.
So, all right. So, I'm still old school. So I like to have a visual type of solid structure that I can see when I make my drift. So I keep an old bleach jug, a little bit of line, heavy weight on it. And a lot of times when I'm drifting out there on those flats here on the Big Bend, anywhere up toward Waukesha Bay, the 11 Prong, even north up there, Steenahatchee and Keaton Beach, if I'm going along and I got anglers on board and we bam, catch 2 nice trout, a lot of times I do run a GPS, but I can push that number. And then after a while, you've got so many numbers, it's hard to decipher which is one and which one was that.
Right.
But that marking jug, if you toss it over the side, all of a sudden you have a visual aid. You can go back around, not run right up your track, and give it a wide berth and get just upwind of it or uptide or whichever way the drift is going and look at it and set right back down on that line. And a lot of times this time of year, your trout, your sea bass, and everything will be like I won't say a tight wad, but like in an area maybe the size of 2 or 3 acres. And if you can keep hitting that same area, you got a better chance of getting the limit you wanted or having, more action. Even though the whole flat looks the same all the way across, there's something there that's holding those fish, just like a shrimp hatch or maybe a lot of skilled sardines or something why those fish are there. And I always find it easier having a marking jug, keeping my boat right on that same track.
What a great piece of advice. And I'll even take it one step further because I threw a jug forever, for many, many, many years. You need to pay attention to your compass. When you go to run back by that jug, you need to make sure that you're running the compass course that you drifted away from that jug. And what we would always do is we'd run past that jug 3 times the water depth at least. And that
cool.
then you would make the same drift across. And for us, when we were trying to anchor on a spot, that was also our guide. If we were in 60 feet of water, we'd run 180 feet and throw the anchor. But you got to make sure you get that course right from your boat to the jug if you want to replicate your drift.
That's awesome. I've never been a good offshore angler, as far as getting on grouper and stuff. And anything offshore to me is anything deeper than 14 feet. So there's sea serpents and megalodons and all those big old scary creatures offshore. But, I always wondered when you have your tides and everything like you had talked about, measuring the depth times 3, getting that back and anchoring and using your compass on it, that makes a lot of sense. That's cool.
Yeah, that's how a lot of the old school guys still do it. I'm blessed to have a button I can push and my boat sits there. That works out real well.
Yeah, but you never know, though, that the button could break one day and you're going to have to revert, and I know that you know it, so you could still do it.
Let me tell you what. It's funny you mentioned that. My buddy and I the other day decided we were going to tackle our anchor locker. And if you don't do that once every few years, you need to. We've got 600 feet of anchor line because I have been really scared before, and I'm going to have that much anchor line because if we're going to break down, I'm going to be able to hold bottom.
Stop, yes, absolutely.
But you let that 600 feet bounce around in that anchor locker for a couple of years, it comes out in one piece. I mean,
it looks like one of the wind knots I had on some braided line today. You can probably even hear it when it comes out.
That's right. So we took the great big wad of anchor line, we dropped it down on the driveway, and we made 20 trips up and down the driveway until we had dried it all out and cleared it. And you better do that every now and then, because when things when things go bad offshore, they go bad in a hurry. We appreciate your reports each and every week so much, and I'm glad that your business is trucking right along, William. We'll look forward to talking with you next week, if that's okay.
Yep, I'll be right here in downtown Homosassa. Midweek is really good. You get here on the weekends. We have a lot of folks from south of us in the area, and, we'll maybe talk about scallops next week.
Oh, you can talk to me about scallops every week, Cap. I am a scallop hound. I am a scallop
There
hound.
you go.
Thank you very much, William.
All right. Have a great week.
Talk to you next week, buddy. Let's stop in the Northwest area and check in with KC Charters and our buddy, Captain Kevin Lanier. Kevin, are you with us?
Captain Rick, I'm with you. How are we doing tonight?
I'm doing fine. Is life settling down for you?
Well, if it's not one thing, it's another. The wind's back.
Yep.
Yeah, things are going good, though. We got some wind, but things are going good.
Good. Are your customers coming back?
Not yet. We're still, we had some charters this past weekend. It was local folks, day trippers, but until the governor gives us some relief on vacation rentals, we're still holding our breath and anxiously waiting.
Yeah, that's been the tough part. There's no doubt about that. Tell me about your fishing. How is it offshore?
Well, I'm with the other guys. If you can get offshore right now, fishing's pretty much automatic. We had 2 trips the end of last week, and we loaded the boat. We got limits all the way around, vermilions. We got kingfish. We got just all kinds of stuff. We got black snapper. We threw back more triggerfish than we could count. Red snapper, our quality. We can't wait for the season to open. It was just a good couple days of fishing there. And, it's got us excited if we can ever, again, get a break from the weather. So we got our fingers crossed that end of the week will bring us some good weather.
Kevin, as you and I have discussed, we have long on the East Coast lusted after your snapper season because this year we don't know yet. We're either getting 3 days or 0 days. They think we caught too many during our 3-day season last year, so we may have to sit this whole year out, which you and I, we won't even get into that. We know that's beyond absurd. But is there ever a time in the Gulf when your triggerfish are more than 1 per person?
No.
Well, then you may may keep your snapper season.
That's true. We actually, I don't know if it was last year or the year before, we did not get trigger because technically we overfished them, which I still am just, I don't know. I can't even conceive that being a possibility.
I know.
So they took it away from us completely. Our one fish, 15 inches, it's like, really? I don't understand, but that's not for you and I to decide.
Yep. We'll live with it, whatever it is, because we're fishermen and we're going to go. I said many years ago, if they shut it all the way down to where we can only fish for one-eyed grunts, I'm going to be the best one-eyed grunt fisherman I can be. That's just who I am. I love to be there, and I'm not going to miss it. What about inshore? Is there anything going on inshore?
Well, we've got a lot of triple tail coming across the dock here the last few days. Some really nice ones. The guys are getting them on jigs and shrimp, anything floating. A friend of mine got one. It was off the beach, just kind of swim around the surface. He saw him pitch something out to him, 22 inches. I think I told you about that one. And I've seen a couple of other really nice ones come across. Trout, they're still here. Guys are picking up some better than keeper size trout. And like the last area, Captain Tony reported, we're getting cobia in our area too. We're seeing, big schools of, 50 fish. Ooh. So it's nice for us. It's been a number of years that we've actually gotten into some cobia. And I did hear that somebody picked up a mahi just the other day. A little bit early for them for us, but hey, they're here.
That's a good thing. That's a very good thing. And I tell you what, I haven't seen a school of 50 cobia in many a year. I sure would welcome that.
Well, you know as well as I do, 50 probably means 10.
Okay, 50 sounds better. All right, help me out here. 50 sounds better.
I used to call them the weekend 20.
Yep.
Guys would catch fish on the weekends that weigh 20 pounds. Oh, God.
Kevin, I hate to be this way, but we laugh about it all the time. And the mahi that, we get a short mahi season here, but it's intense. And right now it's going off. It's real good. And you will hear guys that this is their only mahi trip of the year, 1 or 2 of the years. Yeah, I got 3 or 4 30s. I got one there about 45, and we're going. All right, I'm giving you 3 14s and a 20. That's what I'm giving you. Okay. I'll bring the scale, and my money says you got 3 14s and a 20.
Yep. That's where my money would be. I'm with you. I'm same boat. It's funny.
Well, I laugh about tarpon because I was a tarpon guide out of Jacksonville for 11 years. And unfortunately, this was back in my boyhood. And from the time I was, 19 till I was 30. And if somebody caught their first tarpon, we'd let them bring it in, and we'd weigh it. Well, in that 11 years, I weighed a few hundred tarpon. And a Mayport tarpon is between 70 and my big fish was 136. All right, now there's been a few 150s caught in Jacksonville, but not very many. Okay, now it's a new generation of captains, and they release all the fish. And oh my gosh, you ought to hear them on the radio. How'd you do? Well, we got 3. Any big ones? No, we had one about 160 and a couple about 145 or 50. I'm like, wait a minute. When I caught those fish, they weighed 90 pounds. When did they grow up?
Right. I agree. It's funny.
It is funny. Cap, as always, we so appreciate your report. Please tell me we can talk with you next week.
Oh, you can talk with me next week, and y'all come go fishing with me. Red Snapper, please. sportfishing.com.
KC, the letter K, the letter C, sportfishing.com. Snapper season starts when?
June 1st for federal. I have federal permit, so we can go June 1st.
And runs till when?
July 31st. Recreational season opens June the 11th.
June, okay, I got you. But you can go June 1st because you're a charter boat, right?
I'm a federal charter boat, yeah.
Federal charter boat. Okay, good deal. June 1st to July 31st. Trust me, folks, you go over and visit with Captain Kevin Lanier, you will have a good time snapper fishing. We appreciate it, Bubba. We'll talk with you next week.
All right, look forward to it.
Thanks, Kevin. Captain Kevin Lanier from Northwest Florida. You can't get out of Florida without going through the Panhandle, and that's where Captain Tyler Massey hangs out and keeps track of all the fish for us. Tyler, how are you?
Doing good, Rick. How are you?
Outstanding, buddy. Tell me what went on this week in the Panhandle.
So this week, a little bit rough in the middle of the week, but we had some good days in the beginning of the week, and in the last couple of days have been really nice. We went Amberjack fishing a few times. They opened up on the first for us, so it's been our new offshore target between the triggerfish closing and red snapper opening in about a couple weeks. So Amberjack's the main target. Fishing the big public wrecks using frisky live baits, and they're biting pretty good.
Yeah, you told us last week that the key to catching jacks when there's a lot of boats on is you've got to have a good frisky bait that'll run away from them. Is that right?
Oh yeah, that's it. Yeah, we caught we call them hardtails, but blue runners. We caught a live whirlpool this morning. Went out and caught our amberjacks today. So good fishing, nice weather up here.
Bingo, good deal. All right, anything going on inshore?
Yeah, inshore fishing. We've got our speckled trout bites picking up. A live croaker is by far the best bait for a nice speckled trout up here in the Panhandle. If you have a live well full of croakers, you can catch a speckled trout.
How about that? Now, I've never heard that before. We've experimented a little bit with them in Northeast Florida, and with mixed results. We've caught them some days and not others. But your favorite bait for a big speckled trout is a croaker.
Oh, by far. I mean, the hardest part for us used to be catching the croakers. In the last few years, we've spent more time trying to find the croakers than finding the speckled trout. So if we can catch a dozen speckled trout, a dozen croakers, I bet we can catch 6 speckled trout over 3 pounds on those. That's really the key to catching nice ones around here is fishing structure, shallow structure, and a live croaker. Some people throw lures and some people don't like the live baits, but if you're a live bait fisherman, you want to have croakers when you go speckled trout fishing.
What size croakers?
Anywhere from, we throw them a lot of times the size of your hand, 5-6 inches.
Okay. Let me tell you what has worked for me off of my dock, because I use them on grouper a lot. And what I will do is get a sabiki with pretty good size sabiki, so it's got a decent hook on it, and tip it with fish bites. And fish it in areas where you suspect croakers to be. And I'll take a rod. I'll take a rod and throw it off my dock cap, and in 5 minutes I can go out there and reel in 6 at one time that are hanging on it. I mean, I don't know what areas you've got that they're in, but if you get a whole stringer full of sabikis with a little bit of fish bites on the hook, you'll end up with a bunch of croakers.
Yeah, that's a good tip. We typically use squid on just a 2-drop rig, a little tiny circle hook, and a little piece of squid is what we catch them on, and we catch a lot of them in bayous, and then also like in like channels leading into the bayous. So there's a lot of little bayous and canals around here, so it's just not always that good to catch them. But yeah, like you said, I definitely need to try the fish bites. I've never tried that before.
Try the fish bites on a sabiki. All right, Cap, we appreciate your report as always. It was fantastic. And good luck with the Amberjack. June 1st is right around the corner. You boys will be snapper fishing. So if it's okay with you, we'll talk with you next week.
Sounds good. We'll see you.
Our thanks to Captain Tyler Massey for a great Panhandle report, and that wraps up our trip around the state. Don't you almost feel life starting to get back to normal? Now, down in Miami, where they've got a huge population center, Captain Alan Sherman says he's still not taking people on his 22-foot boat, but lots of guys out in the Big Bend in the Northwest, they're booked every day. William Toney said he runs Monday through Friday every day. They're fishing right along, and they're doing very well with it. I was surprised by the number of cobia we heard about tonight. Almost everybody had cobia on the brain, and once again, blackfin tuna in the places where they usually hang out. It is an excellent, excellent season for them. The Mahi run seems to be doing the best in Northeast Florida. Both East Central and Southeast said it hadn't been as good down there, but they're catching grouper and they're catching cobia, so there's always good fishing going on in Florida. Hey, it's been great making a trip around the state tonight, and you know what we really wish? We really wish you would subscribe to our podcast or give us some comments on our podcast, what you like, what you don't like. You can leave your comments wherever you get your podcast fed to you at. We'd sure appreciate hearing from you. I'm Captain Rick Riles. Our reports each and every week are brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. By Tournament Master Chum, the best chum on earth. By Nosara Paradise Fishing, your dream vacation. And by Young Boats. You want the best in flats, bay, and offshore boats? You want youngboats.com. I'm Captain Rick Riles. We'll see you next week. Until then, I'll catch you on the rip.